Over the past year, Rupert Murdoch has been beaming his satellite TV channel Sky into thousands of British homes. At the same time, the pre-launch problems of its rival venture, British Satellite Broadcasting, have become public knowledge. It's gained a reputation as the channel tunnel of the skies, costing a fortune and missing deadlines. But next month, BSB is launched and becomes available to anyone with cable television or one of the now infamous square-reel satellite dishes. BSB will have 5 new channels covering sport, news, entertainment and the arts, as well as a deluxe film channel. At a cost of £1.3 billion, BSB is a huge venture, so huge that many city analysts are starting to worry about its future. So, is the investment going to pay off? Will it be smart to be square in the 1990s?
Wow. Wow.
BSB is an enormous venture. It is a venture which is, I think, going to change the way in which we think about television, watch television, and use television in this country.
BSB is the only UK government-licensed satellite television service.
It's all very sort of epic. It is quite unique. It doesn't actually easily bear comparison to things that have gone in times past.
5 themed channels, British programming for a British audience.
There certainly hasn't been such a large investment in the leisure sector. The comparable point would be the Channel Tunnel, which is a non-existing venture into which people have ploughed billions of pounds.
The latest technology, enhanced picture quality with digital stereo sound and in a widescreen format.
People think there's a sort of bag in my office marked swag with 1.3 billion in it. It's not really quite like that. You know, you have to pay it out as you go and you have to perform as you go.
BSB will work with all existing television sets and video recorders. All you need is an approved antenna and receiver box.
If you want to have a big change, then you must go for it in a big way. There isn't time to sit around for 2 or 3 or 4 years, sneaking in and hoping to get a corner of the market.
We offer quality and choice. You watch, we listen.
They have a tremendous task ahead of them, and if it works out, then they would have created something which is really new.
But it was BSB's determination to be so new that caused its early hitches. The launch of the 5 channels was repeatedly delayed as the technology behind BSB's receiving dish, the square reel, took much longer to perfect than BSB expected.
Certainly their record doesn't hold out very much optimism. I mean, in the first year or couple of years, BSB has done nothing but fail to meet the targets it set itself, which doesn't give very much confidence.
Clearly they've had tremendous problems to overcome with shareholders and with equipment. Almost everything that could go wrong has gone wrong, and they've worn it with a certain aplomb, and they seem to have tried to make the best of a bad job.
But earlier this year, the banks, together with BSB's main shareholders, massively boosted BSB's start-up capital to £1.3 billion. It amounted to a resounding vote of confidence from some of the city's leading financial experts.
We've been examined and re-examined and examined again by outsiders, third-party research firms put in by the banks or the shareholders, just to make sure that our thinking is right and our assumptions. And we haven't been found wanting because they've voted with their wallets.
The information they have in terms of the business plan makes BSB look an extremely profitable venture. However, a forecast is only a forecast. It's not reality. We take the view that dish penetration will advance less quickly. We take the view that the subscription revenue and advertising revenue in a competitive environment will be more difficult to glean from the market.
I think the break-even in 3 years target is a very tough one. I'm convinced on the arithmetic that they need about 3 million households to break even, and most of those to take the film channel at about £10 a month. And if they hit those targets, then they ought to get about enough money to cover their costs, which in 3 years I would estimate would be about 400 million a year. To that extent, the arithmetic works. But 3 million households is a lot, because that's about 15% of the British TV households.
BSB is here. Our satellite is up, our tracking station is fully operational, our headquarters are complete. We're ready to go. D-Day, Spring 1990.
One other thing that really interests me is this. All of these services now are launching into a recession. The recession was apparent when Sky started a year ago because mortgages were going up, mortgage rates were going up, and they clearly found it difficult to tempt people to buy dishes at £179. It's going to be even more difficult for BSB because their equipment costs more and they're starting with a subscription film package right from day one. I wouldn't like to be trying to launch a new television service at this point in time.
It's unlikely that many households will subscribe for BSB and Sky as well. Sky presumably aren't going to sit back and do nothing.
One of the interesting things is that we know very little about what the market is for satellite television. I mean, there has been market research saying that 4 million people in this country are interested in subscribing to satellite television. So far, 500,000 of them have bought or rented a dish for Sky. So if that figure is correct, there's a lot for British satellite broadcasting to go for.
Both sides are feeling very bitter and not prepared to concede anything at this moment in time. All the talk that we hear about there being a war between the two services is actually true at this point in time.
What they're racing for really is the break-even point, when the first one reaches profitability. It can then start buying programs out of the profits that it's making rather than its initial pile of cash. And that should let the first one to profits start to accelerate. And on that kind of picture of a race, I guess Sky is slightly further ahead.
But BSB is confident that it can beat Sky Television by offering a different programming mix. Like Sky, BSB has attracted its own lineup of familiar faces.
The first thing that will set BSB apart from Sky is the fact that BSB is British, that it grows out of a tradition of British programme making that the audience understand.
We like to think of ourselves as being of the same sort of quality as BBC, but the difference is, of course, that we will offer a vastly increased amount of choice.
The second thing, I think, is quality. I think we're determined to make programmes of a high standard that people will recognise come from the quality television stable that British broadcasting has always been famous for.
Every company finds its origins in something. There's a sort of culture that takes over, and I really do think that their culture does come from tabloid journalism. The Sun, Today, News of the World. I mean, it's sort of in the system.
The success of BSB's prestigious marketing is also central to its launch campaign.
They're spending an astounding amount on advertising. BSB is going to spend 2.5 times what McDonald's hamburgers spends, and more than Vauxhall Cars spends in a year.
Sky has had the advantage of 5 national newspapers promoting its products in one way or another, and BSB doesn't have that. So it's got actually an awful lot of work to do. Now, to counter that, it is going to be spending a huge amount of money on advertising and promotion, and I think it needs to do that.
But BSB's quality strategy was decided long before Rupert Murdoch had entered the UK satellite TV market. So is it still a strong card to play?
Murdoch came in with a very different view of how to establish a new satellite operation. And BSB has stuck very hard to its original concept of providing quality and getting it just right.
The question is whether or not the advertisers and the viewers through subscription will actually pay for the quality, because it can be very expensive.
It's no good in the new environment attempting to build a broadcasting operation based on quality if that is not going to succeed.
It sounds as if, from the rough suggestions we've had, as if BSB's programming is at least half as expensive again as Sky's, if not nearly double. A lot of that is the cost of buying in the film channel, which it's very proud of, from Hollywood. But it remains to be seen whether or not the viewers will actually pay for that quality that they say they want.
We're in favour of quality. But nevertheless, it's got to be based on something that is commercially successful.
Increasingly, media analysts believe programme quality will not be as decisive as management skills in the newly competitive marketplace. So how well will BSB perform?
It is, if you like, the British media establishment which has decided to go into British satellite broadcasting. And you can't fail to be impressed by that, which has given such a scale to the venture.
Well, the interesting thing about BSB is what you've got there is old wine in new bottles. You have a lot of the old TV establishment, BBC and ITV, who've now got a brand new thing to play with.
BSB is very much more corporate, if you like, than its rival Sky Television. Sky is a one-man band behind the Australian entrepreneur Murdoch.
At Sky Television, Rupert Murdoch has really committed News International to the success of Sky, provided, of course, it doesn't compromise the core of the business and his newspapers. So for him, it's in many ways a cold business decision.
BSB is very much more what we're used to in corporate Britain. It's backed by major corporations, and I think its executives probably reflect that type of thinking.
None of them strike me as being desperately entrepreneurial. If I had to sort of put Rupert Murdoch in a ring with them, then I would be tempted to say that Rupert Murdoch could outwit them all.
So does Sky's one-year lead really put Murdoch beyond BSB's reach?
Obviously, Sky do have a lead in terms of the fact that they've been on the air for a year and we haven't. Now, you could argue that they've simply warmed up the market for satellite, or they've got a lead. We shall wait and see. We think they've just warmed up the market.
Unless there really are 20 million people out there, say, who want to install satellite dishes, there isn't really, unless everyone's calculations are totally wrong, there isn't really going to be very easy money to be made for either side for maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years, perhaps even longer.
BSB won't fail overnight. It'll be obvious that it's not meeting its targets, it's slipping. And then the decision by the major investors will have to be taken as to whether they can afford to stay with it without jeopardising their own financial standing, or whether they will have to just pull the plug.
BSB's and Sky's business plans, from what I know of them, are sketched for the company to be turning round, starting to come, if not into profit, at least significantly turning the corner in 2-3 years' time. And they would know in 2 years' time if that's not going to be the case. It seems to me it's really Christmas 1991, when maybe interest rates are a bit lower, maybe people feel like going back to the high street and buying these dishes. That's the point when you can begin to judge how the race is going and whether or not one of them would have to shut down or merge.